Hi, good morning. My name is Pooja and I am here to tell you a very interesting story, or rather a series of interconnected stories that happened at different times and different places. But the beginning of it all dating back to the time when I was just a child. In 2002, I was in grade 7. An unexpected downpour had cancelled our morning assembly in school. But we would still take part in it. We would go back to our classrooms and the team holding the assembly would still hold it from the principal's office. Thought for the day. A voice boomed. Today's thought to ponder over is the starfish story written by Lauren Esley. A man was walking along a seashore and he finds a boy picking starfish and throwing them back into the sea. "What are you doing, little boy?" he asked. "Well, sir, as you can see, the sun is up and the tide is going out. I'm throwing the starfish back into the sea. If I don't do that, they will all dry and die." The young boy was so innocent, and the old man chuckled to himself and said, "Oh, little one, there are thousands of starfish washed ashore along miles and miles of the coast. You can't make any difference." The little boy listened politely, bent down, picked up another starfish and flung it back into the ocean, smiled at the man and said, "Well, sir, it made a difference to that one." "Thank you very much," she finished. 13 years later, it is 2015, and all my news feeds are filled with the gruelling updates from the Syrian War, which actually started in 2011, and its consequential refugee crisis that was being covered by international media and sparked global outrage. Out of all that I saw, there were 3 particular chronological events that really shook me to my core. The first one was the image of a 4-year-old Hudia at the Atme refugee camp in Syria, where she bit her lips, raised her hands, eyes filled with terror, and she surrendered to a camera thinking it was a gun. The next one were a series of 20 portraits taken by Brandon Stanton, the photo blogger of Humans of New York, while he traveled across Europe covering refugee stories. The third one was an image, a horrifying image, of a 3-year-old Alan Kurdi washed ashore the Greek island of Kos. Alan, his mother, and his brother drowned in the Mediterranean Sea while attempting to flee from Syria. Now, this image in particular spurred an analogy that abysmally hurt me. Here was a starfish washed ashore that was not saved. "Humanity has failed," asserted most popular headlines, but in this mortifying image, amidst blaming governments, terrorism, and countries, what I saw was the utter failure of mine, yours, and the rest of the world's ability to stop an ongoing crime against humanity. Alan was just one of the 100,000s of children who were deemed dead by the Syrian war, and leaving another 7 million as refugees and in danger. The most outrageous fact about the Syrian war and the refugee crisis, which is one of the most grave humanitarian crises of our times, is the very fact that we were all witnessing it live. So I soon assumed the responsibility of the boy in the starfish story I heard once when I was a little girl, and I decided to pick and throw and attempt to save one by one. At the time, I was a 23-year-old mechanical engineer turned teacher. I was not a rich person. I was not an influential person. I was not a powerful person. Well, nothing really has changed even from then. But the point being, I had no idea what to do. That is when Leo Buscaglia's inspiring words came to me. Too often, we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest acts of caring, all of which have the power to change a life and the potential to turn a life around. I decided to do whatever I can with whatever I have, wherever I was. I decided to write a letter to a refugee child. Yeah, I know, everybody told me that I was crazy too, except this one wonderful man, Chris Littlefield, who happened to be the counselor at a summer camp in the United States where my boyfriend went to as a teenager in 2003. Chris believed in the idea and networked me to his contacts in the UNHCR. Now, it's undeniably true that you can only make a difference to one starfish at a time. So, to save more, I decided to inspire more people to help me pick and throw starfish back into the sea. In a span of 2 days, 25 people from 11 countries and 7 time zones got together. A Facebook page was created, and the first thing that came into my mind was put as the initiative's name: Letters of Love. Letters of Love were to send letters, which are handwritten postcards, tokens of love, hope, and solidarity to more than 1,300 Syrian refugee children across 9 community centers in Turkey. The children were overjoyed to receive these small packets of doodled postcards. The feedback we received were heartwarming. All the joy that encompassed in that particular day, which was January 1st, 2016, looked like this. So I was very happy. I thought it would be a small year-end project, and I was very content. And on a regular working day in school, I was assigned as a proxy teacher to 6th C, and I walk in, and we are discussing current affairs. And to my surprise, not a lot of the children knew about the Syrian war or the refugee crisis. So I decided to talk to them about it, and they had so many questions, most of which I could broadly classify them into 2. One was, "Ma'am, why do we not know about this?" And the other one was, "Ma'am, why aren't we doing anything about it?" That is when it struck me that it is not that we don't want to make a difference. It's just that the lack of awareness and also the lack of access to the right opportunities or the right platforms where we can make a difference in our own capacity was absent. So a bunch of 46th graders and I sat down to discuss how we can make a difference to a global refugee crisis. Amidst the many intelligent and very feasible options and solutions that they presented, some of them I want to share them with you. One was, let's ask the Indian Air Force to go and airlift people in Syria and bring them to India. The second one was, let's pack and send them food, clothes, medicines, and Lego. Another one was, everybody loves pizza and ice creams, let's send them pizza and ice creams. And then one feeble hand went up and she was like, "Ma'am, can we write letters to them?" I smiled and I told them about letters of love, and they sat down to write incredibly moving letters, one which you can see here. Sahishnu was kind enough to write down his roll number and his division as well, just in case. As soon as I got done with class and I got back to the staff room, I opened my laptop and suddenly there was a sub-team of Letters of Love that was formed and the educational wing of Letters of Love unfurled. We got together to develop empathy-centric curriculum which teachers could adopt in classrooms, which would raise awareness, cultivate compassion, and also highlight the potential of each and every child as a change agent in the society. A lot of teachers who got to know of it by word of mouth used the curriculum in their classrooms, and the results were so fascinating. In fact, the teachers were so amused with the empathy quotient of their students. Now, incidentally, it was the same year, UNHCR got back to us with a request for 13,000 letters for not just Syrian refugee children, but also Iraqi and Yazidi refugee children, as totally a testimony to the fact that happiness is contagious. All that went into January 1st, 2017 looked like this. The summer of 2017 found me working as a counselor at Seeds of Peace International Camp, the same summer camp which my boyfriend went to when he was a child, the same summer camp where Chris worked at, Chris being the wonderful person who believed in the idea at its nascent stage. Now, Seeds of Peace is an American nonprofit that creates generations of leaders from conflict countries through peace building and conflict transformation. We invite exceptional teenagers from conflict countries of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Israel, Palestine, Jordan, Egypt, as well as children from the UK and the USA. And it works in a traditional summer camp model where the children are made to share living and eating spaces with each other, engage in immersive dialogue process, and actually interact with the so-called other. So in my bunk one cold night, my Israeli camper woke up in the middle of the night and put on her blanket over her freezing bunkmate, a Palestinian. The next day morning, my Palestinian camper found the act overwhelmingly kind, but she couldn't find the right words to tell her and convey gratitude. So Daniela decided to make it special and took help of her Israeli friends and wrote a letter in Hebrew for Noga. She gave the letter to Noga, hugs followed, tears followed, and so did an idea. Hey Pooja, do you think we can work out something like a pen pals between our Israeli and Palestinian schools? You know, the problem with Israelis and Palestinians is that we don't talk, we don't know the other side. So maybe if we can use your letters, it would be a great idea and we wouldn't have to hate each other blindly anyway. Can we do that? Now, what I've learned and what I stand by in my very humble experience with children up to date is the fact that when kids come to you with motivated ideas exuding passion, you do not say no, because it is a delight to see them break out of their chrysalis and bloom into butterflies and just run the world. The Pen Pal project was initiated with the objective of fostering impossible friendships and also to encourage rich exchange of perspectives. We did not want to dive into the conflict setting right at first, so we wanted a smaller known group. So we had students in Bombay write letters to children who are victims of war in Syria, those under siege in Gaza, Palestine, as well as Syrian refugee children in Turkey. The best part, they would all write back. I got back from camp by mid-August, back to India, to an array of emails from a 13-year-old Alaskan girl. I was amused, and the subject read, "Please help me make a difference." Gabby Weiss had also contacted almost all the organizations I had worked with prior to Seeds of Peace, even called up a few of my bosses, and there she was writing to me. Excuse me. It so happened that I immediately got in touch with her, and she was like, "Pooja, please help me make a difference. This is my story." Gabby, when she was 11 years old, saw a couple of videos online and was very disturbed with what she saw of the Syrian war and the refugee crisis and decided to make a difference. She mobilized her community and her school to collect so many handwritten letters to be sent to Syrian refugee children. Now, she did not know where to send it to or whom she could possibly ask for guidance. A simple Google search led her to the Letters of Love Facebook page, and there she was talking to me. "Please help me make a difference." The choice of her words in the email subject really inspired me profoundly. Now, there's no dichotomy of thought and action here. This was a 13-year-old, very aware of a crisis. She ideated on her empathy and decided to do something about it, and in fact, had the project ready in hand. She was just looking for a platform and a mentor. It was Gabby's energy and enthusiasm that gave way to the Student Ambassador Program of Letters of Love, where we hone young leaders who have ideas and who have the energy to conduct and to execute it in their communities, both globally and locally. On a global sphere, they send letters to refugee children, and in a local sphere, they address marginalized and vulnerable communities depending upon the demographic they are situated in. So that would be writing letters and connecting communities with the students and homeless people, LGBTQ people, the war veterans, prisoners, or as of recently, the Parkland mass shooting survivors in Florida. All of what went into January 1st, 2018 looked like that. Now, in retrospect, it was a starfish story that I heard at a morning assembly when I was a child that gave birth to an idea. An idea over the span of 3 years and only 9 working months helped people in connecting with 30,000 Syrian, Iraqi, Yazidi, Palestinian, Rohingya, Afghan, and Kurdish refugee children empowered more than 200 teachers, sensitized more than 8,000 children, conducted more than 350 pen pal facilitations, had raised around $6,500 through crowdfunding, had collaborations with more than 40 organizations, effectively engaged more than 20,000 youth across 19 countries, and is now a member of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees with Refugees Coalition, the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Youth Network, as well as the United Network of Youth Peace Builders in The Hague. Now, what baffles me more than these staggering statistics is the fact that this schoolmate, whose name I know not of, whose awareness, whose existence I'm not aware of, her choice in choosing this particular anecdote gave rise to a global massive change movement, a typhoon of kindness. I'd love to leave you with that thought and these smiling faces it helped create. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, ma'am. A small urge to make a difference was the first building block of an inspiring cause like Letters of Love. What a sublime example of the butterfly effect. We would now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, to kindly present a memento as a token of appreciation